First, the Supreme Court to reveal its historic decision on Obamacare tomorrow. The president's signature legislation and landmark reform of his first term lives or dies on the court's interpretation of the law and the Constitution. White House spokesman Jay Carney today made it clear the public's perception of the law isn't high on the administration's priority list.
The constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act depends not on public opinion of polls, but on legal precedent.
The highly unpopular law is sure to have a major impact on November's presidential election, whether it stands or falls. Some numbers the Obama campaign may want to take note of. A new Wall Street Journal poll showing almost twice as many people would be pleased if the Supreme Court rules Obamacare unconstitutional rather than lawful. And a brand new Fox poll backs that up, showing 2 out of every 3 people believe that forcing Americans to buy health care insurance is a violation of their rights. Later in the same briefing, Carney floated a soundbite that may be an indication of how the Obama campaign would frame an Obamacare Supreme Court loss.
The individual mandate was the product of a conservative think tank. It was adopted by many leaders in the Republican Party in the 90s. It was adopted by and implemented by a Republican governor in Massachusetts.
Meanwhile, a growing number of Democrats indicate they will side with Republicans and they will vote to hold Attorney General Eric Holder in contempt of Congress tomorrow. Capitol Hill sources tell Fox News to expect as many as 20 defections. 5 Democrats confirmed and on the record as turning against the Attorney General on this issue. For the latest developments on the contempt of Congress vote on Capitol Hill, we go live to Fox News Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel for our report.
Lou, good evening. Lawmakers continue moving forward with the effort to hold the first sitting cabinet member in contempt of Congress, Attorney General Eric Holder, ahead of tomorrow's scheduled vote in the House.
We seek contempt because the Attorney General, even before the president's assertion of executive privilege, said he would not give us any materials related.
When history looks back at this moment, this will not be a pretty moment for this country.
Today, Cummings sent a letter to Speaker John Boehner asking him to take a direct and personal role in trying to resolve this issue, though Boehner's patience appears to have run out.
We've given them ample opportunity to comply, even as late as yesterday. The White House sat down with some of our staff to outline what they'd be willing to do. Unfortunately, they're not willing to show the American people the truth about what happened.
Justice officials did show Republican staff a representative sample of all the documents being withheld. Meanwhile, a new Fox News poll says 38% of voters think the fight over Fast and Furious is better described as a cover-up by the White House, while 32% say it is a witch hunt by congressional Republicans. On the president asserting executive privilege, 43% of those surveyed say it shows the administration is hiding something, while 42% say the White House has a legitimate reason. While last week's committee-level contempt vote was along party lines, already some Democrats have said they will vote in favor of the resolution. House Democratic leaders try to downplay support from their ranks.
I think you'll find a small number of Democrats and Republicans who will take an action on this contempt citation.
Jim Matheson from Utah, John Barrow from Georgia, and Nick Rahall of West Virginia are among what congressional sources anticipate will be about 20 Democrats from swing districts who will vote in favor of contempt. And today, party leaders said pressure was also coming from the National Rifle Association.
That's very clear that once the NRA decided that they were going to score this, that if you wanted to have a perfect record with the NRA, that you would have to vote for contempt.
Now, the House is expected to consider 2 contempt resolutions against the Attorney General. One is criminal, which passed the House Oversight Committee last week. The other is civil, which, if passed, would allow the House to go to a judge and ask the judge to force the Justice Department to hand over Fast and Furious documents. Lou?
All right, thank you very much, Mike Emanuel. Well, turning now to Congressman Blake Barenthal. He is a congressman from Texas, Republican member of the House Oversight Committee. Congressman, great to have you with us. We just heard Mike Emanuel describe the duality of this contempt of Congress citation, which would be either civil or criminal. What is your thinking on that, on those 2 issues that is the civil and the criminal contempt citations?
I think the civil is a fallback, because what happens under criminal contempt is the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, who works for Holder, is supposed to go prosecute it. And if he doesn't prosecute it, what do we do? So the civil is a fallback where the Government Oversight and Reform Committee can retain attorneys and proceed to court ourselves if the Justice Department doesn't decide to go against their own boss.
And what will be the trigger mechanism? What is the strategy of your leadership here as to which way to proceed? Do they have the same support for both paths, is the question.
I think they'll both pass. If you think Holder is withholding documents that he should have turned over to Congress, which I think almost all the Republicans and, as the report says, a good many Democrats think, then I think they'll both pass.
And the idea that 20 Democrats, as many as 20 Democrats, as Mike Emanuel again reported, we had been told from the Speaker's office as many as 31 were expected to join. 5, I believe, at this hour are confirmed. What is your expectation on the number of Democrats who will join Republicans in approving a citation against the Attorney General?
Listen, I'd like to see all of them, but realistically, I think 20 or 30 is a good number. Congress has got to have the authority to investigate and do their jobs, and both Republicans and Democrats understand this. And I think a vote against contempt is a vote that's just protecting the president and protecting the Attorney General, I think, at the cost of Congress.
I'm a little confused about something. Speaker Boehner saying that he did not want anyone, should Obamacare be struck down by the Supreme Court tomorrow. He didn't want anybody spiking the football. But at the same time today, the Speaker is in front of cameras and microphones talking about the Congress will repeal Obamacare if the Supreme Court upholds it. Sort that out for me.
Well, I think the difference is we believe that the law is bad law and unconstitutional. There's a difference between trying to do something about it and gloating at a Supreme Court ruling.
And the bravado of repeal before the Supreme Court makes a decision, you don't find that off-putting on the part of the Speaker?
Well, you just got to remember, we voted to repeal it 3 times already. And if you look at repealing or defunding parts of it, it's, I think, 28's the current number of times we voted to repeal or defund all or part of it. The House of Representatives is on record as thinking the whole thing needs to go, and we'll take it apart one title at a time if we have to.
And Congressman, we appreciate your assessment of the leadership on that statement, and I applaud your nuanced response. The vote tomorrow on contempt of Congress, is there any doubt in your mind that it will be passed?
Unless the Attorney General comes rolling in with a couple of dollies full of boxes of documents tonight, I think it's going to pass.
Congressman Blake Farenthold, good to have you with us.